everybody, welcome again in Ayla's kindergarten. This episode I had to move in this little improvised studio because we are quite high in the mountains and the weather conditions outside are not really well for shooting videos right now. And I was really looking forward for this lecture, so I guess this will do. Let's get on to it. As you can see, I already prepared the complete Tree of Life design with all the appropriate paths. And when last time we shown how it can be used to conceptualize an evolution of a mind of a person throughout his life, now we will demonstrate the infinite practicality and usefulness of this diagram and the way how it can contain and make sense of almost any experience or any phenomenon you can experience in life or life can put in front of you. And to do this, in the next episode I will show you how this can be conceptualized as a description of the whole evolution of a human species, from the monkeys through all the different stages, all the way to unforeseen future. And we'll do it, when we'll do it, we can say we will sort of zoom out from the map of one person's life and see the map of all the lives ever. And that's far you can stretch this design or contract it, and it will help you to cover, conceptualize and understand any aspect of existence. It's so great and it's real. And in this lecture we will be zooming in. So how to do this? You can imagine that in every sephira, every of these little balls, when you look inside, there is another pattern like this, like a fractal, and then in each sephira again another, and this can go on as far as you need, as deep as you need. And in this sense, we will focus now on the sephira, Yesod, or the moon, which we used to conceptualize the changing nature of human mind, all the different stages and all the different paths it could take, all the different movements inside it. It doesn't matter how enlightened or how conscious or how disillusioned your mind, that we will show a general picture of all of the possibilities. So you can imagine we are zooming in and we see another tree, and suddenly this becomes a map of the mind. And where it is, because here we still have abyss here, so this is what is happening, and this is how we react on it, how we feel, and how we think about it. And before we get to the main part of this lecture, which is this one, just to illustrate what I mean, for example, every time when you act willingly, when you decide to do something and then you go to do it, you are acting like a magician. Every time when you get carried away by circumstances or let yourself to go with the flow, you are acting like a fool without the negative connotations of the word. You either do your thing or you follow what is going on around you, or you do nothing, but that's also a cause that has effects, or the waves of effects even. Then for example, whenever you are worried, depressed, solving some problem which pains you and weights you down, we can say you are passing the valley of shadows, the path of the moon, connecting these earthly and heavy sephiras. If your worries are connected in a different manner, if you are contemplating something to dare and it scares you. Every time when you imagine yourself doing it, you are passing yourself through the path of the Aeon, of the end of the world. It will end your world, maybe, if you will act in a way you never ever tried to act before, something like this. And we can continue through all of this, but this is not the purpose of the lecture. For the purpose of the lecture, there is one important path to consider, and that's the one which we last time described as activation of the middle pillar, so the true self can shine. And this is the path of the card called art, and astrologically it belongs to Sagittarius, the archer, who shoots across the illusion the light of his star. Yeah? And now we will give you a practical advice how you can approach this any day, any time, in any opportunity that life presents to you any day. How you can get tastes of your true self by activating this pillar in a little piece by piece. And the way how to do this is explained by the part of the card we will talk about today, the Lovers, which is this one, and astrologically belongs to the most divided intellectual sign, Gemini. And why these two cards? These two cards are said to be one of the most difficult to fully understand in the depth of their symbolism, and they also cannot be understood if they are studied separately, because these two signs in the wheel, they are the opposite astrological signs. They are complements in some sense, and where art shows the result, the way, lovers are showing the method of how the way is achieved, so to say. They are transcending the abyss, so they are cutting through the duality. The letter, Hebrew letter belonging to the card Lovers is a Zayin, and that means sword, because it's a perfect symbol for the nature of the mind, to divide, to chop up to little pieces, and to understand. Divide and understand. And the card Lovers has several mysterious alternative titles, and we will explain them and their significance. One of these names is Oracle of the Mighty Gods, or Children of the Oracle of the Mighty Gods. And why it's called like this? Because it is an intellectual sign, so it means dealing with the mind, and because it transcends the abyss to the house of the Mother Nature, or the Great Goddess, we can say that it's a point of view how Great Goddess can look at any division and don't see a contradiction or a war or a problem, but always elements being prepared for a wedding, for a union again. She is divided for the love's sake, for the chance of union, yeah? And so there is no problem for her. And problem is when we use the sword to make two options and to see two things, two sides of the coin, and this is the whole game of life, we can say. And now, I will show you this card. It's not the card of Aleister Crowley, it's an alternative design. Aleister Crowley designed this card based on Chemical Wedding by Christian Rosenkreutz, which is very difficult treatise, and also the symbolism is not the easiest to explain. You can read the original and good luck. For the purposes of this lecture, we will simplify. So, and here they are more pronounced, these two brothers, one murdering the other, but somehow they are both smiling and happy and seem friendly. And the secret name, as Crowley wrote in his book of thought, of this card is actually the brothers, not the lovers. And the brothers refers to these two guys. But for some reason, Crowley didn't want it to mention what is their significance. He said it belongs to higher degrees, and he was probably worried that will troubles if people know about this. I believe that we have enough troubles already, and we cannot really screw up anything. So I will give you this story of Cain and Abel, in which is a method how you can deal with any indecision in any time, and not only deal with it, but how you can use any dilemma you face as a way in to know what you really are, and to realize it and to build up on it. Cain and Abel. Traditional Christian interpretation of the story goes something like this. Abel was the great, good, oldest son who inherited the house and the farm and all the lands. He knew how to behave, he knew how to worship God. He was sacrificing animals, doing prayers, and he was nice to his neighbors. He worked hard, everything went well for him, everybody loved him. His brother Cain, on the other hand, was the lazy one, the egoic one, the one who didn't have nothing and was not willing to do anything for it. So he was just screwing around and letting the hate of his brother grow in him so far that one day he took a knife and murdered him. Then the sky opens, God appears and says, you are the first murderer and a sinner, and I'm cursing you. He put number 666 on his forehead and say, you are cursed forever. And then he let him become the father of all of us. And Christians like to use this story as another reason why we should all feel bad and why we should repent and hope for salvation, etc. The same happened with our dear friend Jesus here, the first Elamite, who said, look, I am Son of God, and so you all of you, be like me, be a shepherd. And everybody said, yes. And they didn't become shepherd, they become sheep. And that's what's purpose of all this twisted interpretation. And I will now twist Cain and Abel story totally upside down, which is what happens when you cross the looking glass and look down. Everything is reversed and everything is different than you originally supposed. And the story of these two looks very differently from the God point of view than the people priests are trying to tell us from their human point of view. From God's point of view, one true God, he doesn't need us to sacrifice animals or do any of these barbaric rites. So that makes Abel the first murderer, doesn't it? And Abel, so good, so nice, because he was so clever and so meek that he simply looked around, figured out what is the easiest way to pass through life, how to get admiration, how to get rewards and be rich, and then he slavishly followed it. While his brother Cain shows a first inflammation of a true will of a person. He was done with serving whether to God or to his neighbors, doesn't matter. He knew what he wanted, he knew definitely what he doesn't want to do, and when he decided that this is the way how to go about it, the first proof or the first magical gesture he made to manifest it was the murder of his brother, because it was said that gods don't hear their children until a blood is spilled. And in the story, the spilling of the blood is literal. He murders him, and then the god appears, and he doesn't curse him. 666 in Kabbalistic universe is the number of the sun, of the true will, so it's nothing satanic or nothing dark or nothing evil. God appears and said, congratulations, Cain, because finally we made a human being who is able to act on himself, by himself, to do his will and to be creative, because that's what we gods want to see. So here is the medal, and now go be the father of all. So this is a totally opposite story. And wait, I will go back to this spilling of the blood. As we said, it was a literal spilling of the blood in the story, but as a symbol, we can say that spilling of the blood means taking actions and steps which cannot be taken back later. Definite decisions with consequences. Every time you do anything like this, you can say that you are spilling your blood into the river of life. You are influencing it by your activity. So spilling of the blood, that's actions, not talks, not imaginations. And yeah, now when we internalized Abel and Cain, and we can recognize them as two different parts of ourselves. One is Abel, that educated, nice, proper one who knows how to move in the society, who knows how to please, who knows how to be welcomed. And then the other, that part of you which always knows perfectly what it really wants. In every situation, everybody has it, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. Cain, our egoism, which we are told that it's something sick, something to be uprooted, and etc. Because we live in a society which is designed by us like a prison in which everybody is a policeman. And any individuality, any real explosion of something new meets with resistance. And yeah, so the advice is, every time when you face a dilemma, try to find out, try to look at, without shame, into that part of you which you feel that is absolutely certain, which, if you don't need to respond to your parents, friends, to your gods or whatever, or to your government, what is it that you really want? What is it that wants and burns in you by desire? And realize, when you are acting out of Abel sort of behavior, when you are losing your real self to please others. But I don't want this lecture to be a call for a revolution. I don't want you to go out and burn the streets or beat your neighbors, etc. So we will make a little safety, yes, but yes, so the path how to become a telemite and how to finally learn what is your will really about is really impossible to do until you uncover and discover all your wants, no matter how low they are. And because all of us has so much wants and so much desires and so much, not so much, let's say not so much, but certain amount of anger, depends on how the life is treating you. We are all carrying the bag of so much suppressed negative emotions and wills that to simply start acting it out will lead you fast to either prison or a mental institution, so be careful. And do this as a surgeon and a scientist, not as a fool. This is a magician, magus. He is always keeping his mind. He always knows that it's not only about him, it's always a magician versus the surroundings, and the true will needs to happen somewhere in the middle. So there are many times when we have to compromise, but you should be compromising as a conscious Cain, somebody who knows himself and knows that this time I will act a little bit out of my way because there is no other way how to go forward, or is the most effective way how to go forward. And even if it's something extreme or something which will frighten you when you realize about yourself, don't push it back, don't say it, don't disconnect yourself from it. You can still act nicely, but remember that real you was telling you something else. And next time, maybe find a way how to smoothly make the real you to have some chance of survival. Because every time when you dare to act like Cain, when you spill the blood, and when you cross the abyss of indecision and realize that there is only one path, which is your path, you will have a taste of your sun shining through all your system, and that's how you get to self-knowledge. Yeah. Here, just to finish, I will show you the other card, the Sagittarius, or something like this. That's another, just a little detail. This card shows a guy undecided between two women, but they are not really two women. They are two parts, two sides of femininity, two opposite sides of what is the whole possibility of what does it mean to be feminine. And they can represent the part of his own soul, because we are all men and women in the same time. Inside us we have the masculine parts, we have feminine parts, and feminine parts is always both Lilith and Eve, so to say. The nice one and caring one, and the wild and problematic one, but extremely seductive. And this card, as we said, shows what happens after the wedding. We have one entity with one head formed out of three different heads. 1, 2, 3. The masculine center, which can juggle with the whole spectrum of his other side, so to say. It's cooking two totally different substances and creates a beautiful aroma that takes the stars where they want to be. Yeah? Okay, I think that's all. It's difficult for me to keep my mind and in order and speak these things in English. It's not my native language, but we did it. I think it makes sense, and that's it for now. So as I said, try to dare, get taste of this, but don't be stupid. Thank you for attention. Have a nice day, everybody. Do what I will shall be the whole of the law.